The skies over the breathtaking Swiss Alps will be the arena for the best sky surfers and free flyers in the world as the SSI Pro Tour comes to Charmey, Switzerland. In sky surfing, the dominant force has been Oliver Ferrer and Christian Schmidt. They are looking for their third consecutive tour victory. Their biggest challenge could come from Damien Herdlicke and his camera flyer Richard Stewart, second in the overall standings and just a point behind them, the Brazilian tandem of Pierre Chauvard and Guy Padawa. So fasten your seatbelts, make sure your tray table is in the upright position because we are headed to 13,000 feet. Ready for the first round of competition and the team to beat, Christian Schmidt and Oliver Ferrer. Team Pulse.
Oliver Ferrer starting out with a back out exit from the Super Casa. Starting out with a series of twisting layouts, ending with two front layouts full twist. Very difficult and great heading control on Oliver Ferrer's part. There was a counter-synchronized barrel roll, followed by a synchronized barrel roll with Christian Schmidt rolling the same direction. Here's the incredible speed that Oliver can develop in that helicopter. He has the fastest helicopter on the circuit today.
Ferrer and Schmidt fourth a year ago here in Charmey, and since then a mercurial rise to the top of the sky surfing world, Robin.
Mike, team chemistry separates the best from the rest. Both the sky surfer and the camera flyer need fully developed skills and thousands of jumps together to fly like this team. Look at this incredible view of the henhouse surprise as Christian Schmidt is inverted, carving an orbit around Oliver Ferrer. Control of heading is the ability to come out of a skill facing the direction you intend to face. Oliver Ferrer has almost perfect control over his heading during these twisting layouts. Now here's that counter-synchronized barrel roll, followed by a synchronized barrel roll with Christian Schmidt rolling in the same direction as Oliver Ferrer.
And like they've done so many times this year, they set that standard high, 91.3, their first round mark. The can't-miss Swiss. What makes their partnership work?
Oliver's really a hard-working person, all the time focus on what's important in the sport and just to give the best to improve as quick as possible.
The critique from our team is the good thing what I like is still we are good friends on the ground, and this is the, like I said before, it's a really important thing. If you know each other on the ground and you trust somebody, you can have a good time in the sky. And if you don't be like a team and you don't love each other and know each other, you will be not a good team.
And with two firsts and a second, Ferrer and Schmidt well on their way to the overall title and perhaps a third consecutive tour victory. But just a point separates Damien Herdlicke and Richard Stewart from the boys from Brazil, Pierre Chauvard and Guy Padawa. A lot riding on today's results. Still to come, sky surfing boards are set aside. Terminal velocity gets tweaked several notches higher for a menage a trois of a different kind. It's free flying, where the only limitation is the imagination. We return now to 13,000 feet, more first round jumping. The Brazilians, Pierre Chauvard and camera flyer Guy Padawa.
Pierre and Guy also starting out with a back out exit from the Casa. Pierre transitioning to a hang. Now, that's on the hill. That's when the air is still coming at you horizontally. That's fairly difficult. And here is that textbook Pierre Chauvard helicopter. Little bobbles, he transitions into the henhouse. Look at the speed, Mike, on this henhouse surprise. Incredible.
Robin, he speaks very little English, but his partner, Guy Padawa, can speak volumes about his partner's talent.
Sometimes we create some new stuff a day before the competition and say, hey, man, let's do it, you know? And it works, you know? Pierre is a great sky surfer because he can do it with very little amount of training, you know, and maybe means that I'm a good camera flyer because I can film this stuff too, you know.
Guy has become an exceptional camera flyer. He broke onto the sky surfing scene when he won a World Cup event with French legend Patrick de Guéridon. He said it gave him instant credibility, Robin.
Mike, Guy Padawa is certainly one of the finest camera flyers, taking advantage of every opportunity to capture breathtaking video angles.
And now safely back on the ground. Their first round jump, 85.7. They are in second place. Well, into the arms of moms, jump future champions. And that's what this team would like to become. Donnie Hunziker, the camera flyer, Sabia.
Mike, this team loves to have fun, and you can see it in their routines, and that really helps with their score. Now, Sabia is able to capture this close-up of Danny Hunziker by actually sitting on the tip of Danny's board as they ride out of the Casa together. Danny with a little friend tucked under his chest strap. They have a very unique style, very unusual. Now here's a sit spin with a full twist, one of Danny's favorite moves. Now he's going to transition it straight into the hen house. He needs to arch his back a little bit more to bring that rotation straight. And there you see the rotations cleaning up.
This partnership was 5th in Amping, Germany, the last SSI tour stop.
Sabia able to do it all. Very interactive camera flyer. He can ride on Danny's board, ride on Danny's shoulders, and he can also do those synchronized camera barrel rolls just like a pro. Very strong team all the way.
Especially, Robin, when you consider this is the first year they have worked together.
Which makes this kind of teamwork all the more amazing, Mike. Look at this synchronized camera barrel with Sabia rotating in the same direction. Now here's that sit spin full twist, reaching back, grabbing the tail, throwing a 360-degree rotation during the sit spin.
And a very solid mark for Hunziker and Sabia, 80.3. Well, not too far away from the drop zone, Gruyere Castle. Stand in front of it, say cheese, you get the picture. More sky surfing from Switzerland coming up. The rolling Swiss countryside and gateway to the Alps, round 1 of sky surfing underway. And next up, the team of Damien Hrdlicka and camera flyer Richard Stewart. One of the most experienced team in this meet, but their partnership, Robin, relatively young.
Mike, Damien, and Richard have been very busy competitors this year, and that experience just shows in these smooth routines. Damien, a very technical sky surfer. Going through a series of front layouts with full twist. And here going into a body carve as Richard floats up to get a spectacular view. Here comes a body rolling triple, and he needs to carve out of that clean. Damien launching into what normally is a textbook helicopter, having a little bit of problem with the axis wobbling around at the beginning of the helicopter, but straightening it right out, transitioning to a sit spin. Now he's going to lay it back into the hen house, and there you see a very nice version of the hen house. And here's a nice variation from Damien. As you launch into these back layouts, you have to keep the rotation straight over the top and keep the axis clean. Damien's doing a great job of that. Here is the body rolling triple. Straighten your body out. Launch into this series of twists as you're spinning horizontally.
And their score, 83.7. Hrdlicka very easy going.
Yahoo!
Until he stands at the exit door.
Once you step into the door and you get ready to get out of the airplane, you're totally 110% consumed by what you're doing. There's nothing else on your mind except for the skydive. You're just totally free.
Damien's a teammate that it's very easy to work with. He's interesting to film, and he's got a very unique style about him. And he's good at communicating in the air without having to, talk or anything like that.
Who's got the best seat in the house? My vote goes to the guy in the cockpit. Back to 13,000 feet we go, almost 2.5 miles above the earth. And the European tandem getting their second serious taste of competition, Cédric Dumont and Patrick Polimon from Belgium.
This is a relatively new team. A few rough edges, but a lot of promise in their skills. They're really adding a lot of skills each time I see them. Now, you'll notice a little bit of camera separation here. Remember, this is a team concept. The team needs to stay together, and they need to work together. Now, here in the sit spin, Cédric needs to lay back and straighten that board out and get a clean rotation with the sit spin. Now, here's a body roll with twists. He needs to carve out of that cleanly, and he missed the carve out. You notice there's some camera pulsing here. These guys definitely have a lot of promise, but they've got to work out these rough edges. Now, this helicopter obviously means that they have been working on their skills, because a good helicopter doesn't come easy, and that is a very nice helicopter by Cédric Dumont. Patrick Polimon floating up above Cédric to capture a beautiful view of the standing spin. Cédric pulling his arms in to increase the speed. Now in the sit spin, Cédric needs to open the sit spin up and lay back and let that sit spin fly.
Now they need to improve their work under canopy. Hey guys, the landing zone is over here. Hopefully they didn't become a permanent part of this magnificent scenery here in Charmey, Switzerland. Up next, the Russians are coming. Sky surfer Valery Rotsov and his camera flyer Alexei Kristopa. And yes, these guys are smoking.
Mike, it's really exciting to watch these teams develop and mature on the tour. Now, one of the things I really like about Valeri's style is he always keeps it moving. You will never see Valeri set up. You'll never see him stop or think about the next move. It just flows from one skill to the next, almost with this fluid-like quality.
What's it like to sky surf amidst such beauty? Well, for Valeri, sightseeing is not an option.
It's a very unusual situation when you jump on the ground. But when you compete, when you take part in such kind of competition like World Tour, you forget about everything. You just thinking about jump, and you don't think about mounts, you don't think about altitude. It's my mind.
Mike, when you're opening your main parachute at 3,500 feet, these mountains can be intimidating. Beautiful textbook helicopter, straight body, and then closing it up into a jackknife. Nice variation we don't see from any other team. And here is a belly-to-earth spin, very close to the pretzel by Danny Hunziker.
Well, they were fourth in Amping, Germany, and 84.3 here in their first round jump, looking for a top 3 finish. They move in the third. At least that's the word in the herd. Stay with us, more sky surfing to come. Back here in the Swiss Alps, the call of the flugelhorns, stuff that picture postcards are made of. Sky surfing competition underway, round 1, back to 13,000 feet we go. The B&B boys, David Briggs and Andy Bashi, from New Jersey in just their second pro meet.
Dave and Andy are paying a lot of attention to detail. Now they're adding technical skills with a good level of difficulty, and that variety is also thrown in. So this is a complete package. Although this team is new, when these guys polish their skills, they're going to be formidable. Already showing strong teamwork with skills like the sync camera barrel roll. Team chemistry is so important in the final package.
Dave is very disciplined, very technical person. And he's, in the things that we've done together, 2 years we've competed in a couple different disciplines, and this is the latest of them. He's had a base level of talent that I think is above a lot of other people, and that's worked for us.
Timing these synchronized camera barrel rolls is critical to make them look smooth. Andy Bashi doing a great job there. A good helicopter is a sign of somebody who's put in a lot of time to work on their skills. Helicopters are deceptively simple looking, but they're very difficult to master.
Andy and Dave, great feel for each other's capabilities. Evident in that jump, a mark of 81.3. Now, Robin, here's my definition of trust. Let someone else pack your chute. It's mandatory if you're a competitor and focused in on what you have to do at 13,000 feet. Where we turn our attention again, and the first round jump of Mike Frost and Andy Ford.
PlayStation has a great deal of experience on the tour, but Mike, they can be hot and cold. I've seen brilliant performances from these guys, followed by somewhat lackluster performances, and that's what they need to do. They need to focus on these performances because they do have what it takes.
Frost and Ford, Great Britain's only professional sky surfing team. Mike gets most of the attention, but he knows he's nothing without Andy.
Andy, my cameraman, is probably one of the finest people on the tour. His flying ability, the way that we actually work together is just great. You can't find that, you have to work on it, and fortunately for us, we're in a very good position that we get on really well together, we hang out together, compete together. We have bad times, we have good times, but whatever we do it together. It's a team thing.
Mike moving through that routine with skill, but they usually have better communication. Now here's perfect communication with this counter-synchronized barrel roll. Andy Ford rotating the opposite direction of rotation as Mike Frost. Now here in the Invisible Man, you'll see a lot of speed, and that speed comes from applying pressure with the front foot. That's literally a gas pedal for the Invisible Man.
Under canopy, however, decelerating the important thing. The score for Mike Frost and Andy Ford, 80 points even. That puts them into 7th place. At 13,000 feet, the skies over Charmey, Switzerland, as lovely a view as you'll ever see. Hey, we've got plenty of frequent flyer miles. Hop on board, but be careful. The scene will take your breath away. Well, here's another team with bold ambition. Sky surfer Stefan Klaus, his camera flyer, Edson Pachko.
Getting right into the team, wasting no time. Stefan Klaus going through a series of twisting layouts. Going inverted for the helicopter. Stefan's developed a very clean helicopter. Carving out of it beautifully. Very good control on that transition.
This team was 9th in Amping, Germany, looking to make a move up in the standings here in Charmey. Love that red hair.
Tracking by the camera. There's 2 barrel rolls. Looks like he's going to barrel roll right by the camera. A very creative way to end the routine. You have to pay attention to framing. Edson Pacheco is generally doing a fantastic job with this routine, but you need to keep that sky surfer right in the center. Now here's a standing spin with a loop, a very difficult move to finish on a dime.
Stefan Klaus returning to earth, kicking the board free. He'll like his score, 81.7, as we take a look at the leaderboard. After 1 round of jumping, Oliver Ferrer and Christian Schmidt lead the way. Round 2 coming up. The flavor of the Swiss Alps, a festival of sorts going on, a bovine blast that will probably go on until the cows come home. And this jester holding court, announcing the jump order for the 2nd round. First up in round 2, the team of Donnie Hunsicker and Sabia, currently in 7th place. They need a quantum improvement to move into 2nd, 91.3.
Mike, Danny, and Sabia always have a unique exit, and here you see them linked together doing these Ferris wheel-like cartwheels right out of the door. A counter-synchronized barrel roll with Sabia rotating the opposite direction. Now look at him moving through the clouds. The clouds are really starting to close in on these sky surfers, Mike. Spinning the sit spin opposite direction, that shows the judge's control. And here you see those sit spin full twists, a series of them. Danny carves right back out to his feet. A lot of control from this young sky surfer, and perfect timing as Danny Hunsicker slides underneath Sabia. Sabia goes inverted, rolls back to his belly for another beautiful view. This is a great routine by these guys.
Some outstanding relative work, and at the end of the routine, look at this. Hunsicker having some fun with Sabia and maybe impressing the judges as well.
This perfectly timed transition shows how critical teamwork is to each performance. Danny and Sabia always like to have fun with their routines, and their personality comes out in their routines, and that really helps their score.
The mark, 81.7, and an improvement over the first round. Their 2-round average, 81 points even. Event organizers over the last 2 years have enjoyed a wonderful streak of good fortune, Robin, weather-wise, but the gray skies are starting to roll in now here in Charmey. Will it be a factor? We'll find out as we look at the Russian tandem of Valery Rozov and Alexei Krzysztofa.
Mike, this team illustrates one of the great important differences between sky surfing and some of the other boarding sports, and that difference is transitions. Now, you can have a wide range of skills, you can have a full palette of skills to draw from, but if you can't flow from one to another smoothly and cleanly, it means nothing, because your performances will have that choppy look. If you'll notice, Valery Rozov moving through these routines with incredible skill.
A year and a half ago, they were novices, not afraid to try. Their routines rough, unpolished. Not anymore.
We just training together all this year. It's about we did about 600 jumps, and we all time we think about our program. We think what we can improve.
We know that they've improved their transition. Robin, what about the individual skills?
Well, here's a good example. The helicopter. Look at how straight his body is, and look at how straight that board is in relation to the horizon. Valery's version of the sit spin with a full twist is even a little more difficult because it doesn't involve a tail grab, which gives him a little bit more orientation as he comes out.
And the mark for Rozov and Krzysztofa, 85 points even. Their 2-round average, 84.7. So for the moment, they are in 3rd place, and this could be their first ever top 3 finish. As weather continues to be the biggest variable in this competition, up next, the Carrot Top, Stefan Klaus, and his camera flyer, Edson Pacheco.
Mike, this team has its sights set really high, and you can see it in their attention to detail, the way they work through these routines, the way they put the routines together. But just as important, you have to pay attention to what the very best are doing. You have to be able to do the same things the guys ahead of you are doing.
I like Pierre Chauffort's technical stuff, like how he's flying the board. It's amazing, you know, he has so much control. And I like the speed of Oliver Ferrer. That's those two guys mixed up. That's what I want to be.
Stefan borrowing upon not only Ferrer's speed, but also his sometimes flamboyant hairstyles.
Major league teamwork here with this synchronized camera barrel roll by Edson Pacheco. Taking a second or two to get into this henhouse surprise. Once he gets into it, a beautiful version of the henhouse surprise, a move created by Troy Hartman.
Camera flyer Edson Pachko under canopy. The score for this team, 81.7. They remain in 5th place. So a bright future for Stefan Klaus. The same, however, cannot be said for the weather. Sky surfers, keep your fingers crossed. Back with more in a moment. Back here in Charmey, Switzerland, the second round of competition underway in sky surfing. Conditions not exactly ideal, but definitely doable. However, if the clouds continue to get a little more dense, this could be the final jump, which means it's imperative for teams like Damien Hrdlicka and Richard Stewart to really be on their game right now. Hrdlicka and Stewart currently in 4th. They're set to go.
Mike, the danger with the clouds is not the clouds themselves. It's the lack of visibility. If you can't see the mountaintops, if you can't see other aircraft in the area, you're taking a big chance getting out of an aircraft and punching through the clouds. Damien here moving through a series of very creative transitions that I haven't seen in his work before. And there you see that nice variation with his hands behind his back on the henhouse surprise, snapping his legs out into the filthy McNasty. Richard Stewart above Damien Hrdlicka as he goes through the clouds in the helicopter there. Damien tracking by the camera of Richard Stewart, turning to face him again, showing some closing speed, sliding up to take a hand grip with Richard Stewart and showing him that that routine was right on the money. Variations on standard skills really help flesh the routine out. The hands behind the back on this henhouse really adds a lot of flavor. As they're moving through the clouds, Richard Stewart needs to stay really close. If they lose each other, it can be a dangerous situation.
Richard Stewart now under canopy. Their 2-round average, 82.3. That is good for 4th place. Not a top 3 finish that they were looking for, if that indeed was their final jump. And right now, the weather conditions right on the cusp. A little bit iffy as we head back to 13,000 feet. The proud Brazilians, Pierre Chauffard and Guy Padawa.
Mike, this tour director is a very safety-conscious individual, and if these clouds move in anymore, I tell you, he's probably going to shut this down. Team Brazil coming out so close together on exit. That incredible teamwork between Guy Padawa and Pierre Chauffard, the sky surfer. Pierre Chauffard showing those textbook skills that have put him in the top ranks of the sky surfers. Reaching down for a row gain, a spinning rail grab. You can see some of the moisture actually beginning to form on the lens of Guy Padawa. Now here's a linked sit spin as they swing each other around right into a henhouse surprise. That takes so much control to work together like that.
No, Chauffard gives a lot of credit for his success to 1996 SSI Tour champion Bob Greiner, who taught him the fundamentals.
Showing total control. Pierre slides in to grab Guy's hand, transitions to a hang, snaps into a sit spin as they swing each other around.
And a very satisfied camera flyer, Guy Padawa. Their 2-jump average, 85.5. So they are a solid second. Not bad for a team that coming into this meet was very concerned about the exit of the tailgate Super Casa.
Right before we get up on the airplane, we were talking about the exit, because it's the exit where we do we call barrel, a sink barrel right out the door. And this airplane is what we call tailgate, where we get out from the back of the airplane, and we train from a side door airplane where this exit is not a big problem, you know. So I was like, oh, Pierre, I hope we do good on this exit, you know. And he's like, oh, man, just do it, you know. You can do it. We train. Just do it.
We're ready to just do it. Back at 13,000 feet, the current leaders, Oliver Ferrer and Christian Schmidt, and retain their lead. Robin, all they have to do is be average.
Mike, this team is anything but average. They've got speed, choreography, technical ability. They're going to be extremely tough to beat. But look at the clouds that have moved in now, Mike. This situation is becoming more dangerous. Now here you see him passing through the clouds. I wouldn't be surprised if the tour director shuts this competition down. Still in the clouds as Oliver Ferrer launches into the helicopter. Now coming through the cloud layer. Beautiful counter-synchronized barrel roll there. Another counter-synchronized camera barrel roll. Beautiful track as you can see the mountains they're over. And here comes Oliver Ferrer doing that series of layouts right by the camera. Christian Schmidt is certainly one of the best camera flyers. Here he is inverted, carving an orbit around Oliver, who is head down in the henhouse. Timing is so important as Christian times these two counter-synchronized barrel rolls to perfection.
And since finishing second to Troy Hartman and Vic Papadato at the X Games in San Diego, this team of Oliver Ferrer and Christian Schmidt has become the dominant force in sky surfing. And it is now official. The meet has been canceled, so it will go down in the sky surfing logs with an asterisk. Originally scheduled for 5 rounds, the meet here in Charmey reduced to 2. It might not have mattered. Oliver Ferrer and Christian Schmidt were that good and that dominant. To the victors go the gold medals and a whole lot of high fives.
Thanks again, and we're proud of the support from ESPN and ESPN2. We'll be happy what we're doing here. It's just great to be up here, to be honored.
Well, not only do they win their 3rd consecutive tour title, Oliver Ferrer and Christian Schmidt also walk away with the overall title as well. Pierre Chauffard and Guy Padua finish 2nd, Damian Hrdlicka and Richard Stewart 3rd. All that's left to be done, acceptance of the victory check. And Oliver and Christian, if you haven't already, open up a Swiss bank account. Deposit most of your earnings and save a little for some bubbly. The Swiss Alps, long a mecca for alpine skiing, today stand passively by as free flyers descend from above. The world's best team, the Flyboys, practice their intricate routines on the ground. They call it dirt diving. Their closest competition, the Chronic, well, they're at 13,000 feet on board, poised to take the title should the Flyboys falter. The tailgate of the Super Casa closes, looking much like the giant whale that swallowed Jonah. 5 teams in all being judged on a 100-point scale, each jump 40 seconds in duration. And the anticipation starting to build as the first load of free flyers head for exit altitude.
Mike, it's important that each team member possess formidable flying skills. These are 3-person teams, and if one person is a weak link, it can affect the performance.
First up, the Chronic. Free flyers Mike Vail and Rob Welts, flying camera Charles Bryan.
One way to stay close on exit is to link up as you leave the aircraft, but it's tricky. If you lose control of it, it can blow out into a big mess. As you see, these guys are in total control of that carousel-like exit. Free flyers head down, coming together now. You can see how much control they have as they fly right up and grab that foot in free fall at these incredible fall rates. And that's another thing that's very unique about free flying is the fall rate. These guys can reach speeds of up to 325 miles an hour, or they can slow it down to almost 90 to 100 miles an hour. This linked exit showing how much practice this team has. Flying these grips requires that you continually adjust your fall rate, and it takes very minute, fine coordination to do that.
Charles Bryan, camera flyer.
Charles Bryan, the camera flyer, coming in. Their first round score, 90 points even. This is the final event of the season. The overall tour title will be awarded after today's competition. Coming in, the Flyboys have the lead, but Mike Vail, Rob Welts, and Charles Bryan want their crown.
Charles Bryan is the man. He's probably the best filmer, and I think that's why we do as good as we do. You know, we can do a bunch of maneuvers in front of a camera that's not there, and it doesn't matter. If the camera's right there and nobody has to crane their neck around to see what's going on, I think it helps a lot the points. And we can do whatever we want, and we just don't even think about him. He's there.
I've just enjoyed filming Mike. He's extremely limber and can get to all kinds of positions nobody else can. He can put his feet above his head, all these things. And he's got his own flying style, which is great to film.
Back to 13,000 feet we go. The SSI Pro Tour comes to Charmey, Switzerland. Competition underway in free flying. This is the team of Nicholas Arnaud, Stéphane Fardel, and Claude Sivskonski. Team K Ramba.
A little bit of separation on exit. They need to pull it back together there so the judges can see what's going on. And here it comes. Now, if you notice the camera's pulsing in and out a little bit, that's because as the guys separate, the camera has to back up to keep them both in frame. And as they come together, the camera will also move in a little bit closer. But you see a little too much pulsing in this routine. And that points to the fact that these guys are not as tight as the Chronic.
Again, each of these jumps 40 seconds in duration. That's what the judges look at. Each second very valuable. The two free flyers here, Ziskonski and Arnaud, wasting valuable, precious time, Robin.
It points to the fact this is a new team, Mike. They just haven't had enough time together to work these routines out. A shining moment during the routine was this beautiful transition with good close camera. This is what the judges want to see, Mike.
Back on the ground, I think it's reflected in their faces. This team, K-Ramba, knows they can do much, much better. Their first round mark, 75 points even.
Excuse me, yeah, I got flyboy rigs. Oh, flyboy rigs lined
Keep
up.
your chutes packed. A lot more free flying to come when we return to Switzerland. Charmey, Switzerland, no more enchanting sight on the SSI Pro Tour. Round one competition underway in free flying. Next up, the team of Evan Mortimer, Brad Chatelier, and Tim Matson. They were in second place in the overall standings coming in.
Mad Style quickly asserting themselves as one of the best teams on the Pro Tour. You only get this good, Mike, with the support of a skydiving center because those jumps are expensive. These guys train up in Byron, California at Bay Area Skydivers. The drop zone saw the potential these guys have and decided to invest in them, and I think they invested well. Beautiful, close transitions. Mike, how do you stay this close when you're flying at 200 miles an hour? By making continuous small adjustments to your fall rate. These guys are continually moving their hands in and out, changing the way their bodies are catching wind just so they stay that close together.
And the guy who really has to be dialed in, Robin, is the camera flyer. In this case, Brad Chatelier.
The flying skills of all three are critical, but Brad Chatelier is doing an unbelievable job of staying so close, keeping the framing right in the middle. This is exceptional teamwork.
How exceptional? Well, their first round score, 81.7. And earlier, camera flyer Brad Chatelier talked about what makes this unit click.
Evan has a very dynamic style of flight. He has a very linear style. I see a real distinction in flyers today, as they can be kind of round, fluid in their approach, or they can be very direct. Evan has a style where he flies very angularly, very powerfully. He far can out-travel Tim or myself.
We're doing something that a few years ago very experienced skydivers would have said is impossible, and we're proving that, hey, not only is it possible, but it's fun, it can be done relative to each other. We're seeing a lot of new skydivers at our drop zone and probably at drop zones across the country, seeing what we're doing, oh, wow, that's what I want to do.
And part of the local flavor here in Charmey, the flugelhorn players, perhaps playing the fanfare to the free flyer. Well, next up, Team Blue Tribe, Sasha Wavro, Patrick Barton, Marcus Hegley.
A little bit of accidental contact with the cameraman out of the door there, but they quickly regroup, fly into place, and here you see him setting up for what they call a Vulcan mind warp. A lot of control required to fly with that much precision.
Now through a thin layer of clouds.
Doing a good job of staying together. Not quite as much snap and precision as you see, Mike, to the Mad Style routine, but still a lot of skill. Here, this head-down dual carve is very difficult to match your fall rate and stay together. You have to be careful when you do link transitions and come out of them because you can blow apart, and it costs you precious seconds to make that time up and get back together to continue the routine. Beautiful example of flying as they're staying together with those transitions.
Wavro and Barton, both from Germany. Hegley from right here in Switzerland. Their first round score, 77.7. Certainly one of the most unusual drop zones in all the world. Literally 25 feet from the lobby of the Hotel Caillet. Easy access for the fans and the favorites here, Team Flyboys. Fritz Feneur, Mike Ortiz, Eli Thompson. Set to go.
Another team benefiting from the sponsorship of a major skydiving center. These guys are out of Paris Valley in California. Look at these shoulder grips as they do somersaults linked together. Very unique. A lot of control as they do those front somersaults. A little too close to Fritz as he puts his hands up to keep Michael Ortiz from actually bumping into him. Here in your second camera view in the lower left, you can see Fritz Feneur, the cameraman, using every body position to stay close.
How dominant have the Flyboys been this year? Well, they won in Titusville, Florida, finished second in Monterey, California, and then won in Amping, Germany.
Eli Thompson head down in a helicopter with Michael Ortiz carving around him. The cameraman is also head down. That's why the world is at the top of your screen.
This is really remarkable.
When you fly the camera this close, you flirt with accidental contact, as you see here. Fritz Fanur having to push Michael Ortiz away. Eli Thompson head down in a helicopter as Michael Ortiz head down on his back, carving an orbit around him.
And Mike Ortiz.
And their first round score, 88.7. Good for second place.
Not even the weather can hold us back. That was painful.
Flyboys 97 in effect. Chilling in Switzerland, showing them where it's coming from, the West Coast. Yeah.
But Mike Ortiz and the boys from Paris Valley, California have their work cut out for them. They trail Mike Vail, Rob Welts, and Charles Bryan. Round 2 coming up as the clouds start to move in here in Charmey, Switzerland. The Super Casa lifting off the runway with a load of free flyers headed for 13,000 feet and round 2 of the free flying competition. Up first, Team K-Ramba, Zivskansky, Arnaud, and Fardell, currently in 5th place.
What up? We got it all going on in the skydive. Yeah, watch this stuff. You're going to be blown away.
Watch it. My God, okay, we're going to hit them hard. We're going to hit hard with it. We're going to go out a couple wham-whams, a couple wham-wham-wham. Slap, slap, slap. Whoop, whoop. Ooh, shit, bam, crack. And that's exactly how it's going to happen.
The Flyboys coming up a little bit later. Robin, any idea what Eli Thompson was talking about?
Free flyers have a language all their own, Mike. K-Ramba doing a much better job staying together out of the plane. It's much easier for the cameraman to do his job when the team meets. Stay together like this. Passing through some heavy cloud cover here, but showing a lot of fine control as they bump heads in free fall. Very tricky maneuver. In the view on your left, you can see the camera flyer working every possible angle to capture this team and make sure that that presentation is awesome for the judges.
And Robin, the cloud cover cause for concern.
Mike, as you pass through the clouds, there's a lot of things going on in these guys' minds that really distract them from the routine, like where are these mountains at as they come through? A beautiful job of staying together on this routine as Claude Zivkansky slides up to the camera to say hello. Incredible flying skill here as they very carefully slide up to bump heads.
And their 2-round jump average, 76.2. They stay in 5th place, back to 13,000 feet. And you can see that buildup of the cloud layer below. This is Team Mad style. Evan Mortimer, Tim Matson, Brad Chatelier.
These guys have such a great time, and it shows because they're relaxed. Evan Mortimer holding on to the harness of Tim Matson as he exits the aircraft, staying real close. Brad Chatelier literally on top of him as they leave. Matching fall rates, slow revolutions. As they let go, they stayed right together. That's amazing. Hard to see if they're head up or head down as they move through the clouds here, Mike. Beautiful transitions, great control of your fall rate. Evan Mortimer dropping out of sight at the end of the routine. Great way to finish that skydive.
Robin, in free flying, there are no compulsory moves. Just about anything goes style-wise. It's how you present the routine to the judges that counts the most.
And that makes the camera flyer's flying abilities all the more critical.
Evan Mortimer under canopy now. Their 2-jump average, 79.8, so they stay in 3rd place.
Second pass will be Flyboys Atlantic.
That was so good. Oh, man.
You're going to freak when you see that.
There's the spot.
The rolling hills of Charmey, Switzerland, gateway to the Alps inside of today's free flying competition as we head back to 13,000 feet. Up next, Team Blue Tribe, Patrick Barton, Sasha Wavro, and Marcus Hegley, the camera flyer.
Linking up as they exit the aircraft. Holding on to the legs of Marcus Hegley. Now, as they let go, they experience a little bit of camera separation. Not quite as tight as round number 1 for these guys. Now, with the clouds, as you're going through the clouds, it's very difficult to tell what's up and what's down. But look at the ponytail strapped to the helmet of Sasha. That's giving you an indication that the Earth is coming up quick, actually coming down quick. As they pass through the clouds, that was disorienting enough to hurt them in this skydive. So these guys now will try to make up that time, pull it back together, and show the judges some good stuff before the end of the routine.
Robin, there is very little margin for error, and it appears that if you lose control, it's almost impossible to regain it.
There's an old saying, slow is smooth, smooth is fast. And if you're wild in your transitions and the closing speeds become out of control, it takes a lot of time to make that up.
Part of the problem for Team Blue Tribe, their average after 2 jumps 76.7. More round 2 competition still ahead, so stick around. We'll be flying back to 13,000 feet. They're back, and we are ready for another moving experience at 13,000 feet, midway through the second round of free-flying competition. At the exit door right now, the team in second place, Eli Thompson, Mike Ortiz, and camera flyer Fritz Fanor, the Flyboys.
You notice that Michael Ortiz also is wearing a camera helmet because these guys do trade off roles. Staying very close as they start into this routine. Passing through the clouds once again, but the Flyboys are so controlled and so practiced, doesn't bother them a bit. They continue to maintain that close proximity, go through these transitions with total skill.
That cloud layer more dense, the sun blotted out. Again, it can be a very dangerous proposition.
The Flyboys always make it look so easy. Flying right up to the camera with shoulder grips, somersaulting back away from the camera, and look at this, running head down away from the camera. Now, this is where you lose it. When you do a transition, it's very easy to lose control and blow away and get that separation, but the Flyboys are masters at staying together.
Well, Robin, they needed a score of 91.4 to take the lead. They did not get it, but somehow I don't think it matters to the Flyboys. For them, life is very, very simple. Free flying is where it's at.
It's an unlimited 3-dimensional playground where you can go with your friends and use your mind and your body together like nowhere else. It's total freedom of movement, freedom of expression, and it's so much fun.
Showing 3-way interactive flying is one of our big pushes, is that, like, not only are me and, like, say Fritz is filming a dive, not only are we flying together, but we're turning the camera, we're flying under Fritz, and he's coming over us, and then we're going into this little 2-way thing, and then Mike's with him, and, like, it's this whole interaction of 3-way flying that is developing so rapidly, and it's just so much fun.
Fritz is the goop meister. He's just goopy. He's always just moving freely, just like rubber, but always there in the speed, on top of you. You can't get away from him wherever you go. He's going to chase you and be there, smiling, going, hey, what's up? Having a good time. He's the craziest. He's the best to fly with. He makes us what we are, and it's a blast.
But any rounds beyond this second one in jeopardy here in Charmey, Switzerland, beginning to cloud up, the threat of rain, a possibility. On board the Super Casa, the Chronic.
We're gonna skydive. We're gonna skydive it. Skydiving.
Mike on the aircraft, they were a little bit concerned with the cloud situation that's been developing, but these guys are totally focused and they are staying so close on this routine. Mike Vail transitioning behind his back. Some moisture forming on the lens of Charles Bryant gives you an indication of how bad the cloud situation has become here. Rob Welts head down in a carve as Mike Vail does a standing helicopter. Now both go head down, straighten their bodies out, and this is how you reach those incredible speeds of over 250 miles an hour. Staying together on the exit if you're in the clouds can be tricky, but not if you're all holding on to each other as you exit. Beautiful control as Mike Vail does a behind-the-back pass and reaches around, grabs a hand of Rob Welts.
Well, they get a score of 88.3, which ties them for first place, but they win the tiebreaker because they had the better first-round jump.
Round 2 Sky Surf begins in just
Chronic. Chronic. They're one of our favorite teams. We grew up in the sport.
of free flying with them. Like Charles and Mike were some of the pioneers of free flying that we first watched when we were first learning, and their teammate Rob was our first student in our school that we taught. So it's really cool for us to see two of our favorite flyers and one of our students creating such cool, beautiful things together. In competitive free flying, it's weird because you're competing and like the numbers and judges determine that someone wins. But in free flying, it's not really like that. It's like everyone's creating their own beautiful expression, and it's so difficult to say one group is better than another group because it's different style.
And it's now official. Heavy cloud cover has produced rain, forcing cancellation of the meet. It will go into the record books as a 2-round event. The Chronic, by virtue of a better first-round jump, get the victory. The Flyboys take home the silver. Mad Style an impressive third. The rain didn't go away, but we'll be sky surfing another day. And by finishing second, the Flyboys wind up taking home the overall title. Mad Style and Mike Vail, Rob Wells, Charles Bryant. The Chronic was second. So now let the good times flow. There's medals to be awarded: bronze, silver, and gold. And if you're a free flyer, it doesn't get much better. The rain won't put a damper on this party. Charles Bryan, Mike Vail, Rob Welts own the day here in Charmey.
It's time for Charles and Mike to work together. They've been best friends forever. I'm lucky to be on the team. I just want to hold my peace and let these guys create some stuff that no one's ever seen before.
And that brings this year's SSI Pro Tour to a close. For Robin Berg, I'm Mike Adamley. Thanks for watching us. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports.